Welcome to Narrative's Leadership Story Talks, where great leaders go beyond the bottom line to create lasting impact. Join hosts Jerome Deroy and Julienne Ryan as they uncover the stories behind real-world challenges, offering practical insights to help you lead with empathy, authenticity, and purpose. Each episode dives into how leaders use storytelling to build trust, foster connection, and inspire action. Whether you're navigating workplace dynamics, driving change, or building high-performing teams.
Welcome to Leadership Story Talks. I'm Jerome Deroy, CEO of Narrative.
I'm Julienne Ryan, and happy as always to be here.
Yes, absolutely. Welcome to you. I'm really excited about today because we are now, definitively in the summer period, and we thought of doing this episode really just to kind of send people off into summer with some thoughts, some stories, and even some suggestions of things you could read and think about during the summer. It's a good period. We always think of the end of the year or the beginning of the year as times to reflect. That's kind of like the the time to reflect, and there's nothing else really. That's the two times in the year that we think of. Okay, let's look back, let's look forward. But I really think the summer is kind of a similar period because a lot of people take time off, and it's really about how do we intentionally look at that time off in such a way that becomes productive and maybe inspires us, as opposed to let's just take a break and then be really depressed when we have to go back to work. So that's my intention for everyone today is to make you feel
that
really
really
good.
warms everybody up.
Yeah, I mean it's true.
But
It's so true.
it's true. It's true.
I've
Like
heard of.
you're
I hear
counting
so
the
many
days.
people complain about,
Yes,
oh no, I'm already thinking about the end of summer as soon as the summer
I
starts.
know.
So rather than do that, why don't we be intentional about what we want to be doing this summer and what we want to be thinking about, and in what frame of mind might we want to enter summer so that we exit it in a way that's really generative and productive. So there you go.
Okay,
I'll leave it up
that's
to you.
my thinking prompts. Okay, so 4th of July is huge, as well as when I think of summer and you're thinking of intentions and what we want to accomplish, there was always that summer reading list that was handed off in school, that
Mm.
especially as we got into high school, that was long and intense. And I had the best tans ever lying, in my backyard in Queens, because it was everything from Greek mythology, always a good page turner, to whatever the niche book our professors wanted to have for us, Tristan Shandy and everything. And my mother would be calling out the window when she'd see me dozing off. Are you studying? Are you reading? Yes. So that's how I captured sun and hot. And today it's hot as anything in New York. So it really is bringing back memories. So what
Yeah.
about you?
Yeah, well, I think, yeah, quite similar. Well, I grew up in France, and so yeah, similar kind of memories. Of course, for us, it was the 14th of July,
Mm.
Bastille Day. But I think for me, it's when I think of summer, I do think of a time that is sort of a little bit of a time off or a time out, kind of taking a break. And it's interesting because ever since I've moved to the US, and it's 20 plus years now, it's very much kind of there's this culture that's a little bit different, obviously.
Hmm.
And vacation and time off are sort of sacrosanct in France.
Mm.
And I just remember that time period where my father worked a lot, but that was the time of year where we could just see him more. And so
Ah, okay.
for, we got a couple of weeks or something. And that was sort of a rare thing. And so I remember that. Those are the memories that I kind of cherish, are the ones with him in it and us as a family kind of coming together, where, everyone was off doing different things during the year, but in the summer was always a time to come together. So yeah, that's what it makes me think of.
Mm. And then with me was 4th of July was interesting. when I was 4, I went with my fireworks with my parents and my big brother to the Hudson River.
Mm,
And it was right before the holiday, I understand, but somewhere in the night there was beautiful fireworks. We were having a picnic, etc., and there was a huge explosion.
mm,
And even though I was so small, I knew there was smoke coming out of the river, that it was not good. So for
mm,
years I was petrified of fireworks and didn't want to see it. And I couldn't get that image out of my head when it was came 4th of July. But as the
mm,
years passed, like 4th of July meant looking outside the front steps of my house in Queens, my folks, seeing flags on everybody's front yard,
mm,
smelling everybody's cooking from everywhere, and seeing people come together and hanging out in the front of their houses. Later on, it was Bicentennial Minute. I've been around for the big milestones, and having our teacher from Boston, who was in charge of AP history, volunteering us to say, you all are doing the Bicentennial Minute in front of the whole
mm,
school on the microphone in the principal's office. So I remember going down to the library and dredging up historical facts in our pre-internet days and accomplishing that. But my favorite part of 4th of July memory has nothing to do with the States.
mm,
I was on a program in Denmark as a student, and we were really happy living with our families. And we were sent to this cultural event one night, and it was about the Vikings, and there was a lake,
mm,
and there was a big amphitheater. And we're sitting there waiting for the festivities to start. And suddenly we hear the cackling of the microphone. And the man speaks in Danish, and then he says, "We are proud to announce we have a group of Americans in the audience." And a sea of blonde heads turn to us and look at us. And we're like, "Hi, everyone," as they're staring at us. And they smiled, but they announced afterwards it's also their 4th of July.
mm,
And they played some music, and at the end of the night, they were fireworks. And
mm,
I thought, we're so far from home. And this group remembered to remember that that was a special day and
mm.
acknowledge it. So that just still brings a tear in my eye.
Yeah,
That and all those eyeballs staring up at me. But it was a special event to see
yeah,
us as the foreigners experience how other people treated us.
yeah. Amazing, and such a great message as well within the story, right? Without having to, sort of explain it all, right? Like we kind of get the hospitality, the warmth, the occasion
Yes.
of it, and the fact that I mean, we talk about hosting a lot because we host this podcast, we host
Mhm.
training programs, we host workshops. We're always hosting something as part of our work, and I know that part of that is making people feel welcome, comfortable,
Mhm.
safe, and like they belong, basically. And so the
Yep.
fact that your 4th of July became their 4th of July,
Yep.
what a great way and a simple way
Yeah. And
to
their
get people.
fireworks
Yeah,
made it a positive. So
right.
that
Of
other
course, the
memory
contrast.
kind of faded away a little bit. So
Right.
yeah, I
Sure.
think I
Yeah.
talked over
Yeah.
you there for a second. But yeah, I just didn't want to forget to mention how seeing those fireworks, and you have to stay up late in Denmark in the summer to see anything
Yeah. Right.
for the sky to turn dark. But it was worth it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
important
amazing.
memory.
That's yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that story. Because we all have. I'm sure it's true for our audience as well. We all have these stories about events that happen for everyone, and
Hmm.
so, but they can kind of become a little bit, depending on how we tell those. It sort of becomes, oh, it's 4th of July, and it's this sort of blanket term, and we just imagine
Hmm.
things of like, people are going to be grilling, there's going to be fireworks, there's going to be this or that, it's going to be hot, and all those things are true in your story, but then there's the unique elements of your experience that make
Hmm.
it interesting and engaging. And so, yeah, I was just thinking about that as a lesson learned from me listening to your story. How do we talk about events that everyone goes through?
Hmm.
Or that at some point everyone has gone through in their lives, and sometimes I've heard people say, "Oh, but everybody does that. Everybody does this, or
Mm-mm.
everybody goes through that event. So why would I tell that story?" No, tell it so that I can hear that unique experience I just heard from Julienne, and these amazing details that you gave us, which are going to stay with me now when every time Fourth of July, rears
And
its head.
I'm first generation, so I was in love if anybody brought us over for real American food, like
Yeah.
potato chips, oh my god, I was out of control, and pretzels and hamburgers and like, we were a little amended about that. We had some of those basics, but just to experience, ketchup and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
that you think, well, you grew up in Queens, why wouldn't you have all that? But yeah,
Right.
it's
Right.
everyone has a different lens of what was on the menu.
Totally, totally. Yeah, that's really super interesting. No, I love that. Well, I think that's a nice little transition, actually, as I think about it, into the things that we wanted to share with our audience around summer reading and summer thinking. Because I know that one of the books that you were thinking about was from one of our guests, Dean Foster.
Mhm.
So maybe you could tell us a little bit about that, because I'm just thinking of these cultural differences and thinking in terms of a global world as opposed to just our little backyard here.
What I loved about his work, and this gentleman has worked all over the world working with different groups to build communication and understanding, is how he took situations that it would be appear to be impossible, but he showed how the power of listening and
Mm,
being present and not assuming um, that he knew all the answers. So it was that community and that bridge building that did a wonder. And it was everywhere from Africa to Asia and gave hope to say, well, if that man can do it in those environments, I can do it in my house with my husband
mm,
when I'm getting him to listen, or, with a person who's a challenge, perhaps in a work situation. So that was inspiring. And then more recently, the book Quest. I know there's a longer tagline to the title, but it's John A. Graham's book,
mm,
and his very compelling journey where every chapter is eyebrow raising. You think, how can this be still one person's life? And what he learned from it and how he's listening to his internal voice along the way. So if
mm.
you haven't seen the episode, go back and look, and also look for the book. I brought this book when I had to study it everywhere with me, and I had it on Kindle, thank God. So it was not because it was required reading like in summer, it was because I wanted to. And
Yeah.
I had to see the next chapter, and I had to see what was next. And also listen to a very honest voice coming up off the page.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree. So yes, by the way, as you just alluded to, uh, go and look for those episodes, Dean Foster and John Graham. Those are great books to look for as well. I thought of a couple of books. One of them actually might be even behind me. Yes, it is. So I'm going to do a little show and tell. But
Oh,
but
good.
yeah, mine is connecting through
Oh,
circles.
yes.
Continuing
It's
on
oh,
this continuing
yes.
on this theme, right, of connecting us and finding ways to connect seemingly very different people and bridging gaps between people. Even if you have very very different belief systems. This book by Cecilia Loving and Gina Liao will really. I mean, it's a very practical. It's almost like a workbook, basically. But
Mhm.
it's there's lots of examples and methodologies and principles that you can use to essentially connect with others. And they have this particular technique, which is forming circles, and how to do that and how to facilitate that, etc. But I love the examples that they have in the book, and how they've been able to witness so many people from so many different backgrounds and walks of life connect when it didn't seem like that would be possible. So I really love that one. I'm also going to put out into the universe that I'd love to speak to the author of this book. So we have not had this person on our podcast yet. But this is James Clear, and it's called Atomic Habits. It's on my reading list. I have not read it yet. I just got it the other day because someone told me, "Oh, you should read this book." But I just started to kind of leaf through it, and essentially, it's about how there's these things in life that we have that we've been doing for years and years and years and years, and maybe we've realized, oh, it'd be good if I kind of stopped doing that, and so that I could do more of this. And yet, because it's ingrained and it's a habit, it's very hard to
Mm-hmm.
break.
Oh, yeah.
And what
Okay.
I like about
That better get
about
on
it,
my list.
yeah, what I like about the idea here is that the idea is that you just make tiny, minuscule changes, and finally you get to your goal of breaking a habit. And so anyway, I'll be reading that, and maybe some of our listeners have already read the book, and if you have, please let us know what you thought. But and who knows, maybe we'll even have the author on this podcast at some
Oh,
point.
that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I laugh. Well, I call the books allies. I picked up that term from somebody. Like, they are such a great support system when we need it. That's how I learned as a kid. I was really shy and introvert, so I'd be a bookworm and sitting there with my book. So it's kind of an ironic circle that I'm here talking out loud to public, not seeing the humans, but
Mm,
having these conversations. But they are so inspirational, the authors we've had. So they're everywhere around us. And then every time I'm like, okay, I finished my required reading for the moment. You go ahead and say, by the way,
yeah.
we have another author that wrote a book. I'm like, okay, dear Amazon. It's me again. So how fast can you send it? So,
Yeah.
but it's a beautiful addiction, basically.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it could be worse.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely. Well, there you go. I don't have anything else to send people off into the summer, other than to let you all know that we'll still be publishing every week, even during the summer, some new
Yes.
content and new episodes, debriefs, et cetera, et cetera. So as usual, that'll show up in your feed. So don't forget to subscribe wherever you find your podcast, because that's how you'll be able to keep up when you come back from your summer break. You'll be able to see all the episodes you might have missed during the summer, and hopefully you'll get some time to still listen to us during the summer.
So I'm raising my hand like I'm in class again. And perhaps you can share some of your favorite memories from the fourth, or an experience, your first fourth, if wherever you were on the planet and you
Mm,
discovered it, or your favorite book that you read that really stays with it. Because we do like hearing from everybody and finding out how people learned and what made a difference.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, thanks so much, Julienne, as always, for being my wonderful co-host. It's been a pleasure, and I
Thank
look forward to the next one. And yeah, as for you all listeners, thanks for listening. And again, go to narrative.com. That's NARATIV.com/podcast, where you can find our whole archive of episodes, as well as lots of resources and new content that hopefully will be inspiring to you. And if you've been inspired by the story, the beautiful story that Julienne told us, we teach this stuff, and we train people either in groups or one-on-one coaching, and really in lots of different formats and structures. It's really up to you and your teams. So if you're interested, please reach out to us, ask us any question you might have about the process, and we'll always be happy to listen to you and answer you. So thanks a lot, everyone. And again, we wish you all a beautiful, happy summer, and we'll see you soon. Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye bye.
For more information on the narrative listening and storytelling method and how it can help your business, go to narrative.com.